ولا شهيد؟
شهيد شهيد
شهيد يا اخوانا شهيد.
قاعدين يشوفوا.
محمد الله ونعم الوكيل. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. حسبنا الله.
Well, you are looking right now at rescue workers in Gaza City desperately searching for survivors today. Airstrikes by Israel leveled entire buildings along the main road earlier today. The Gaza Health Authorities saying at least 33 people were killed. The Israeli Defense Forces saying they were targeting the homes of Hamas leaders. This is believed to be the deadliest strike in this latest conflict. Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Serapio. You're watching CBC News Network. Nearly 200 people have been killed since fighting began last Monday, at least 180 in Gaza and 10 in Israel. More than 1,000 have been injured in airstrikes and rocket attacks, and many of the victims are women and children. This is 5-month-old baby Omar Hadidi, the only survivor of an Israeli airstrike yesterday on a building in Gaza City. His mother and 4 siblings were killed. Rescue workers pulling him from the rubble and taking him to a nearby hospital. Images of the child have since spread across social media, his father saying they were not warned about the strike ahead of time. Another family of 5 was killed in the blast. Now, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, just spoke moments ago, and he says the military campaign against Palestinian militants will continue in full force and vow to restore calm for Israeli citizens. More than 2,000 rockets have been fired from Gaza towards Israel. This drone footage showing the damage in the southern part of the country.
This round of war is harder than the last one.
And this is the sound of a warning siren in Ashkelon, Israel, a city near the border with Gaza. That woman owns a bakery and led customers to a bomb shelter behind it. Many rockets fired from Gaza are intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome, but some do make it past the defense system. Now, for more on the escalating crisis, let's go right now to CBC's Margaret Evans, who's in Jerusalem. Margaret, talk to us about the latest on the ground.
Well, as you were mentioning, it's been a really difficult day for the people of Gaza. Very heavy airstrikes there during the morning and overnight. I was speaking with somebody from the International Committee of the Red Cross just a short time ago in Gaza. She said that she didn't think that anybody in the entire Gaza Strip would have been able to sleep last night. So heavy was the barrage. And of course, in the aftermath, we've been seeing some really disturbing images of people trying to find missing loved ones buried under the rubble. One of the strikes at least hitting what appears to be a family home. People kind of digging under very precariously placed concrete blocks, finding bodies, pulling them out. A man weeping quietly on his knees as a relative was taken to the stretcher. These are the kinds of things that we're not always seeing, and that's something again that the ICRC person was pointing out, that the international community gets very concerned with numbers, and of course because it tells the tale of who is winning, if you can call it that, in the conflict, but it's the humanitarian suffering that we're not always able to see. We as journalists are still not allowed by the Israeli government to enter the Gaza Strip. We also need to get permission from the Hamas militants who run the Gaza Strip to go in. So far we're hearing that they are not objecting to us in particular going through. We did make a request to do so, but it gets harder to paint a picture of exactly what's going on and the kind of suffering there. There are other problems, of course. The electricity grid has been taken out in large parts of the Gaza Strip. It makes it difficult for doctors trying to treat the wounded. It makes it difficult to keep water supplies clean. And of course, we have to think about the children as well. The figures coming out from Gazan health authorities is that at least 52 children have been killed in the airstrikes over the past week. And people on the ground talk about the trauma that those who are surviving are going through in hearing these punishing airstrikes every day. And of course, as you mentioned, there are also rocket attacks still being fired from Gaza towards Israel. The Iron Dome does manage to get a majority of them to shoot them down, but it doesn't make it any less stressful for the people who hear the sirens going off and have to run for those air raid shelters.
Now, as we noted, we have heard from Prime Minister Netanyahu today. He says that the military will continue its campaign in full force. What does that mean?
Well, he's basically said that, and he's repeated it today and yesterday, that that Israel is not going to stop yet. He says that the military campaign will continue as long as it takes. What does that mean? He says as long as it takes to restore calm and security to the people of Israel. His critics would say it's got to be more than that. That's not the only thing that is creating insecurity for Israel. There are also, of course, problems, demonstrations in the West Bank, the occupied territories, protests against an occupation that's more than 50 years old now. But the Israeli military strategy is to use this time to degrade the Hamas and other militant groups in Gaza's military capabilities as much as possible before the pressure for the ceasefire comes. And I think that that's what we'll now see. Again, though, growing calls from the international community to put that ceasefire in place, especially as we're seeing the kinds of scenes that we've been seeing in Gaza today. And there are also reports now that Saudi Arabia and Egypt, are also the foreign ministers, have issued a joint statement pushing very hard for a ceasefire, or at the very least a period of calm, for a bit of stock taking and potentially for people to find their survivors.
Margaret, thank you for the update. CBC's Margaret Evans in Jerusalem.